Hey, everybody. The NBA All-Star break is in our rear view mirror. Thank goodness for that, as it is the stretch drive with 27 games left for the Sacramento Kings. Their first game back will be against the Golden State Warriors, and that is going to be a big, big game. Ryno, Jerry, hope that you enjoyed the All-Star break. Fasten your seatbelts because here we go, Ryno.
Yes, indeed. This is going to be a fun stretch of basketball. It's going to be a telling stretch of basketball, Jerry.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This team's really got to come out of the box and start winning games. Obviously, the Warriors coming up, that's going to be with Jimmy Butler. The addition is going to be a lot tougher go there. Obviously, the Hornets, that's a must win. I mean, if you're going to know in the first 5, 7, 8 games really what the chances are of moving up in the standings.
Unless this team starts playing better defense, I just don't see it. I mean, we can talk all you want about Markelle Fultz joining the team. You can talk all you want about having the bench now with Valanciunas, who gives this team really, I think, a very nice addition. But, if you don't play better defense, especially with the schedule coming up, guys, it's a daunting schedule. I don't see a lot of wins.
Well, it's going to be tough because, you got some really good teams coming in. The Cavs, the Knicks, teams like that, Celtics are all, you got to deal with them at home even, much less the road games. So, it's going to be a tough part of the schedule. The Kings have really had really realistically a pretty easy go up to date, but really this last part of the schedule, especially into March, is really tough.
Well, for all intents and purposes, this isn't an easy first 7 games out, but it's the easiest stretch you have on the schedule for the rest of the 27. Defense, they've been making a lot of simple mistakes, Grant and Jerry. But Jerry, I'll ask you this. If they're putting all their eggs in the offensive basket, to us, it doesn't look quite right either.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. They've got some I like the talent better than I like the team right now. I don't know if that makes sense. You've got better depth in your bench. You've got certainly some talented scorers and players. But so far we just haven't seen it fit, and
to me,
fit consistently.
Yeah, the biggest factor is the unknown. Health is going to determine a lot here in the final 27 games, not only for Sacramento, but for all teams, because everyone is so bunched up. One injury for a week could be the difference between getting in and not. That's how fragile things are in the West right now.
Yeah, no question. It is, and obviously a key player on any team that can have an injury which is going to keep him out a month or so. Could really look at Dallas. You get Anthony Davis, who you really need, and he's going to be out. Who knows? But that could really sidetrack them. They've hung on pretty good with Kyrie and the boys, but health is a big part of it.
No doubt. And Jerry, I guess, Grant, to you too, this team's been relatively healthy. That's the thing.
Well, and that's the scary part, because they probably won't hold up for the rest of the season. I go back to that New Orleans game before the All-Star break. What an awful loss. What a horrible way to go into the break. Now only a game over 500 instead of 3. And at this point of the season with the schedule, that is a huge difference. You can't do anything about that game. But the Warriors, to me, are an interesting team with Jimmy Butler. I don't know if Kuminga, he was supposed to be reevaluated. I haven't heard anything on him. I think he could be very important for the Warriors coming down the stretch. But the Kings are going to look at a Warriors team that they haven't seen before because of the addition of Jimmy Butler. He does change things. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he's a big time player when he's motivated, and he clearly is right now. We knew that he would be. The problem with Jimmy's always in the future. It isn't right now.
Yes.
And so, he gives the Warriors that second guy to join Steph, and then, allows Draymond to basically fit in and help those two big-time guys. And then now Kuminga can be a third guy. And if Kuminga's your third guy, they've got some firepower now. Obviously, they've had a terrific bench right along, but they haven't had that second guy they could count on as a big time player. Now they do.
Yeah, and Jerry, in some ways, the Warriors are trying to do what the Kings had as a blueprint, bringing DeMar DeRozan in, because Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are so dramatically different players. You've got a team ball movement aspect, and you've got the ISO as well. And to this point, Jimmy is working out great, getting to the free throw line for them.
Yeah, he is working out great. I mean, there's no doubt. I think they're definitely going to. I mean, I don't certainly believe what Draymond thinks that they're going to win the championship. I mean, that's I don't see them advancing very far in the playoffs, but they're significantly better, and they're going to be a tough out now.
Somebody said, Grant, and I don't even know what to say to this about the All-Star weekend. I never gave my thoughts on that. So I didn't watch the All-Star weekend. I very rarely watch the All-Star weekend. I don't know what else to say other than based on what I saw, it was an embarrassment for the league. And I did a rant on this morning. Super Bowl week, the NBA was the king of the sports world. Nobody was even talking about the upcoming Eagles-Chiefs game. It was all about the NBA and the trades, Luka, Fox, Anthony Davis, so on and so forth, Jimmy Butler. We can go on and on. That's all anyone in the sports world was talking about. Now, this week, all anybody's talking about is how embarrassing the NBA All-Star Weekend is. What's wrong with the NBA? You got players coming out criticizing it. It's a bad look for the league. I'm going to be very blunt here. I think Adam Silver has lost touch with reality. For him to come out on All-Star Weekend and say the state of the game is excellent, he's delusional. The state of the game is not excellent. And his own players realize that it's not excellent. His own commentators on his national networks realize that the state of the game is not excellent. For him to come out and say that, he's lost touch with reality. I'm sorry. And I understand that it's a business. And maybe from a money aspect, guys, maybe the league is just fine. But from a perception angle, it is not fine. There's too many complaints. There's too much criticism around the game right now. It's not excellent. It's not fine.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think with Silver, financially with the new TV contract, the league is in great shape financially. But the game itself, the product, is being diminished, not just by the All-Star game, but by the sameness of the game. I've always said one of the things that made the game so great back in the 90s and late 80s or whatever was the personalities of the teams. The teams played differently. Now everybody plays the same. And, run it up in transition, try to get a good three. If you can't, go to a pick and roll or draw and kick. That's it. That's the same for every team. I know I'm going to sound like an old fool here, but I mean, the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, they had a personality. The San Antonio Spurs championships teams, they had you knew how they were going to play. The Utah Jazz, Stockton Malone, you knew that. The Shaq Kobe Lakers had their personality. The Kings of the early 2000s had a personality. So, what I say is, you've just you've got a whole bunch of teams that are playing the same way, and some are better than others.
Yeah,
that's it.
A couple of quick thoughts for me. The bar was set so low, so to under exceed the expectations is just beyond me. Look, Adam Silver's lost control of his players, and he's lost control of a group aspect that these guys are in this together. You're trying to push a product. Instead, you have individuals. Grant, Jerry, if I have a restaurant and I am selling you this new dish, right? I've been working on this all year. Come try it this one day. And for the 2 hours leading up to your table time, everybody walking out's telling you it's an awful idea. Why are we doing this? They don't belong on the floor. Just trashing the product from Draymond to other people. And then LeBron James showing up saying he can't play, 2 hours before the game? And then taking pictures in his street clothes. I get there's precedent for that, but you have lost control, Adam Silver.
Yeah, he really has. I'm no longer a fan at any level, and even suggesting 10-point quarters going forward. you just know the history of the game. You're just throwing out all the meaningful stats and things like that when you do something like that. So that
he's a pansy. That's what he is. He's a pansy. He's a pillow, Jerry. He's opposite of David Stern, who had complete control of the league, who had a backbone. This guy has no backbone at all. None.
No. The tail is wagging the dog big time. And it's a little dog with a great big giant tail. And they really it's not good. And like I say, the All-Star thing, I did watch the 3-point stuff on YouTube and the dunk on YouTube, because you don't have to have all the Kevin Hart crap and all that other stuff. You just watch the actual dunks and the shots, and I enjoyed that part, even though it's got too hokey. But
you know what? When you have a G League player win the slam dunk contest 3 years in a row, I'm sorry, that's a problem. That's a real freaking problem.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when your stars, back when Jordan and Dominique Wilkins and those guys competed in the dunk contest. Now, truthfully, they couldn't dunk like Mac McClung either. I mean, they couldn't do what he can do. But like you say, the dunk contest should be an NBA event. No disrespect to Mac. I mean, he's an unbelievable athlete. And the 3-point contest, I know I'm old fashioned, but why do you have all the shoot each ball counts one? Just like you would in a game. And so whoever gets the most wins. That's simple as that.
A couple of quick things, really quick, before we wrap this up. The first thing is a skills competition. Jerry, you've taught many training camps. You've been a part of many clinics, I'm sure. What's the first things you teach? Dribbling, passing, and layups. These are the top 1%ers in the world at basketball. Show me something that everybody else can't do in a skills competition. Have a game of horse. Do something, a king of the mountain, something that's different. And as for the All-Star game, I'd love to get both of your takes. You can have whatever ideas you want to fix this thing. The only people that can change it is this new incoming generation of stars. They have to say, screw you to the way this generation has treated the game and go back to how those before them did.
In my opinion, one of the biggest problems that Adam Silver has implemented, and it has transpired under his watch, particularly the last couple of years, the NBA has become a gimmick league. It's gimmicky. The in-season tournament is a gimmick. All-Star Weekend has turned into gimmicks. Sports fans in America don't want gimmicks. They don't want it, okay? Wake up and smell your audience and understand what your audience wants. Your audience doesn't want gimmicks, okay? If you look what's going on right now in the National Hockey League, okay?
Yeah.
Think about the attention they're getting this week and will continue to get tomorrow night when the United States and Canada play for the championship of the 4 nations face-off. Whether you like hockey or not, it has been an overwhelming success. Now, I don't know if the NBA can do that because, quite frankly, the difference between the NBA player and the NHL player is night and day. I'll give you an example. Every player in the NHL is like Harrison Barnes, okay? They're in hours before the game. They stay hours after the game. Their lives revolve around it. It's complete dedication. And I'm not saying the NBA players are not dedicated, but the mindset is different. So what I like to see in international competition at the All-Star game, Jerry, we talked about this the other day. Yes, I would. Does that mean it's going to be like great? Maybe, maybe not. But it can't be any worse than it is now. I'm going to go back to the word gimmick. The NBA needs to get rid of their gimmick mentality because that's what the league has come up now.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about this a lot. I mean, to me, there's one, I've said it before, and I agree with Mike Wilbon from a couple of years ago. Have the best All-Star American-born players in the NBA play the best foreign-born NBA players. And you would have a competition because the Antetokounmpos and Jokic's and those guys would go at them.
Oh, yeah, they're going to come at you 100%.
I mean, I guarantee you would have a competitive
Guarantee
game.
it.
Guarantee it. And I mean, and you got and Silver made a statement I thought was one of his more ridiculous ones. Well, you can't do that because it would take too many all-star spots from the American players. It's like no, it's NBA all-stars.
Stupid.
Right.
You're not
Hey,
taking,
Ryan, real quickly on
you're
this,
not bringing
guys.
guys in from Spain and France. These are guys who are playing in your league, Adam.
And the best thing that could happen would be for this game to occur between the world and the U.S. and have the world win. That may finally motivate the U.S. players the same way it did after the loss in the Olympics.
Yeah, well, I think it would have. I mean, with Adetokounmpo and Jokic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's a Canadian. I mean, Luka Doncic. I mean, most of the top big names in today's game
world
would
players.
be playing
Yep.
for the world team or whatever.
Yep.
So the other alternative, I heard somebody mention this. Well, pay the players $1 million or something. Yeah, it's
God.
like, well,
It's not gonna matter.
why would that work? The only way it might work is give $1 million per player to the winning team and nothing to the losing team. You might do that, but I mean, giving everybody more money.
So it's embarrassing.
It's
Ryno, what do you
embarrassing.
think?
No, I'm with you guys. For a commissioner that is so open to these crazy ideas, the most basic one sitting right in front of you, and you already have the main objection drawn up. So it's not going to get any better.
He's lost touch with this league. I'm sorry. He might, as Jerry said, it is financially, he's done great, just like, Rob Manfred for baseball or Roger Goodell for football. I guess these guys are doing great because they do work for their owners and their job is to make money for their owners. But the reality is, you can have the greatest TV deals in the world. Your networks are going to be in your face if ratings continue to decline, because once ratings continue to decline, you make less in your advertising revenue and you can't pay for your big rights fees, and then you have a real problem. Gimmicks, get rid of the gimmicks and get back down to basics. That's my message to Adam Silver.
I agree with that.
Would have been
it should be about the game itself. And
spot on.
So anyway,
Nailed it, Jerry.
All right, get back to the remaining games. So what do you think's best case scenario here with 27? I'm talking best case. I mean, everything goes right. Maybe you get a break. Maybe you play Oklahoma City without SGA. Maybe you play Memphis without so-and-so. Maybe you play, let's be honest, you're going to need some breaks. In my opinion, and I know that, because it's 27 games, you can't actually be 500, but I think it's going to be a miracle to win more than half your games here with this schedule, barring injuries. I just don't see it.
Well, like I say, I've had I went through the schedule this morning, and I was kind of penciling as at best, what I thought they could do. I mean, not what I had them at 15 and 12, but that's probably a little bit of a bet on the come that they're going to get it together a little bit, that Fultz will help them, that sort of thing. But they need to get to 17 and 10, and I don't see how they can do it. How they do it?
No way. No, there's no chance they're going 17 and 10. No chance.
You got that homestand, man. That homestand, guys, in March, where you've got Oklahoma City, Boston back to back. You've got Cleveland in there. That's a bear.
Yeah, and you got those teams, really competing for record. So they're coming in, a little different, because certainly with Cleveland and Boston, OK City's in pretty good shape. You might catch them with a guy or two out. You never know. But it's in New York. Certainly New York's on a run. They think they could possibly even catch Boston for second. So you're catching these teams pretty much hungry.
Oh, boy. Yes, you are. Hey, don't forget about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock, 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. And again, thanks to those of you that have used New Works based on this show and given me great feedback. They appreciate it. We appreciate it. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. And don't forget about Sunrise Landing in Colusa. You go to ColusaSunrise.com. You can check out everything with Sunrise Landing. This is a Blazona development project, many models to choose from. And remember, folks, there's no Melrose, there's no homeowners adjacent to the Colusa Golf and Country Club. Good access to the major arteries like I-5. Sunrise Landing, go to ColusaSunrise.com and you'll get all the information that you need on Sunrise Landing. Don't forget, we will have all of your coverage, pregame, halftime, post-game for the stretch drive, your final 27 games. We've got our Kings Roundtable on Wednesdays. Sometimes we have to switch it if the Kings are on the other side of the country and it's early game, but primarily 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. That's when you'll get your NBA and Kings Roundtable. We invite your phone calls, as always, your feedback. Happy to have you here. Thank you very much for continuing to grow this channel. We appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. Easy to do so, and give us a thumbs up if you like the content.
Jerry, we're getting some questions, and 2 questions. The first one is 14 and 13. That's the first question. Do you think 14 and 13 gets you into the play-in?
I don't believe it does. I wish it would, but I mean, you're talking, 41 games. That's or 14, 42 games. I don't think it will.
Okay.
I don't either. I think the number is a play-in. Now I'm talking play-in is a minimum of 42 and in all likelihood 43 to get into that 10th spot. And let's also understand that, that's not a reason to go into your Jerry, your private little bag of sports memorabilia and get your pom-poms out. We have to look at the goals of this team and the expectations of this team when the season began. And I know expectations can change in the middle of the season, but the reality is if you don't make the playoffs, and by that I mean if you're not one of the 8 teams in the playoffs, to me this is another failed season. That would make it 2 failed seasons in a row on the heels of 48 wins and a 3 seed a couple of seasons ago. You didn't make the playoffs last year. If you don't make the playoffs this year, in my opinion, that's a failed season.
Yeah, well, I think most people would see it that way. Very disappointing. I don't know if I would say a total failure, but still, you're going backwards. You can't. It's hard. You can't spin that.
I know your owner would see it as a failure.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the way the players would see it. I mean, you can't rationalize going backwards. It's not success. But and I was one of those people that thought start of the year getting DeRozan and few things. I thought this team would be better. And I'm not blaming DeRozan because he's a very good player, but things haven't fit as well. And I kept thinking that they'd get more long wing help, which of course they, especially with the trade of Fox, I still felt they would do that. And here again, Levine's a terrific talent, but they still have that need for length at the wings,
I'm going to go the other direction. This has been a team that has ran it back before. And even when they ran it back after that first year, they didn't do much at that trade deadline. So what's the likelihood that it gets spun to Vivek? Well, hey, you traded your star. You also had to get rid of a coach. Pretty good considering those things.
Well, that part's pretty amazing. I mean, now the problem is if, let's say, you go backwards record-wise, which is a very distinct possibility, now how do you change it? I mean, you've got guys, on big contracts locked in. Your trade asset, the best trade asset you had has been traded. So, I mean, because clearly you want to get better again. So, I think that's the part would worry me is just what kind of moves can be made. I'd like to read different people's views. They'll say, well, we'll trade DeRozan to Cleveland for Evan Mobley. Well, yeah, of course you would do that, except that Cleveland wouldn't do that. Or it's like the trade and here again, DeRozan's terrific, but rebuilding teams do not want, especially like a Utah or something, they don't want 35, 6-year-old guys under contract. That's the last thing they want.
Jerry, do you think and Grant chime in on this too, do you think we're headed to, I'm going to say the magic words, a fork in the road where Doug Christie this season is going to have to make a decision between Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan in the starting lineup? Because I think if you put one of those guys on the bench, you've got problems both ways, and it dictates what may happen in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those choices. I don't know what the right answer is, except that I do think if one of them went to the bench and adjusted to it, the team would be better served. Now, I think that's a tough call for veteran guys that have been all-stars and all that. Now, an older guy, like I always said with DeRozan, it still would make the most sense. But barring that, the only thing I'd say you have to do is make sure that Keon Ellis plays 32, 34 minutes. He's one of your best players, most valuable players. And so you can't treat him like a 20-minute guy. And so whatever you, if at best, you're going to have to take minutes from Levine, Monk, and DeRozan to make sure that Keon Ellis gets his minutes.
7-3 when he plays over 28 minutes. I guess what I'm saying is DeRozan didn't come here to be a high-level six-man. That is not what was sold to him with Sacramento, ending your career as a six-man here. And conversely, Zach LaVine's a guy that was not talking to Billy Donovan during his tenure at times in Chicago. So you don't want to risk getting disconnected there because that contract's not exactly great yet.
Well, no, I do think probably what the best circumstance, and I don't think either one of those guys would just to your point, you're right on both points. My point was that's what would be best for the team if one of them would say, "Hey, I'll do it, coach. I'll be the." Yeah. Well, that's pigs might fly tomorrow too, but no. What I do think you almost have to do is have a quicker rotation. Get Ellis in there quicker. You start them, but that doesn't mean they're going to play most of the first quarter. Just all I'm saying is make sure, just like you pointed out, and Grant, I mean, if Ellis is on the floor the most important minutes, that's fine.
Well, the other aspect of this is if you look at the first quarter for the Kings, it's been awful for the most part. They give up way too many points. They're behind the 8 ball early in the game too often, and that cannot continue for the games that are coming up and the quality of opponents. You're not going to catch up against the Cavaliers of the world and the Oklahoma Cities and teams like that. You're just not. You can't keep on giving up 33, 35, 38, 40-plus points a quarter. You just can't do it in the first quarter.
Well, when your starting lineup, you have one defender that's above average.
Yeah.
Great point.
That's the bottom line. And your best defender isn't starting. Keegan's your second best. I mean, they're both, if you had a third guy that caliber, you probably could make it tough defensively. But that's the way I see it is like, Keegan and you have him guarding too many positions, which takes away some of his value, really. So anyway, but that's the problem. I mean, if you're going to start a bunch of non-defenders, below average defenders, don't be surprised if you get scored on quite a bit.
Well, and on the flip side of the floor, they're not exactly flowing right on offense, Jerry. And I guess my question to you is Doug Christie's mindset has been, I don't want to teach you a play. I want to teach you how to play. Now that you're integrating so many new pieces with 27 games left, do you feel like there needs to be more structure or a different approach from Doug coming down the stretch?
Well, I do think there needs to be some more structure. And, one suggestion I think I'd made, I don't know if I made it here or one of the other things I do, is that I'd like to see him put in the old corner series, that he played a part of, the Rick Adelman adjustment where he had two bigs up high on the elbows. Now I'd go with Pete Carrill's offense where he just had one big, that'd be Sabonis. And you run the corner series, and then you can always move it to the other side and play off that side. But what it would do, it'd get the ball in Sabonis's hands a little more, which is valuable. The second thing, it would force guys to screen and move. Mm-hmm. It'll take away some of the extra unnecessary dribbling. And so anyway, but it'd be that type of thing to where you'd have plenty of movement and you'd have reads. And as you guys remember, some of our fans may have forgotten, but how free-flowing that was, even though there was structure to it.
Don't forget Friday night, I'll do a rant with Grant on the post-game show, and it is brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. And right now, El Dorado Hills Motors is looking to sell your vehicle. That's right. They're looking to sell your vehicle. You got all the information right there. Let me put their website out in the corner there, edhmotors.com. David and Adam, just two guys trying to do something different and better. You've got the phone number there. You can use the email, whatever the case is. They're in the El Dorado Hills Town Center, and their auto lounge is beautiful. You don't have to go to a dealership. You don't deal with all of that. It is a long overdue concept. You go to edhmotors.com, get a hold of David and Adam. They are looking right now to sell your vehicle. Get a hold of them, and you will be glad that you did. That's EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined, and a rant with Grant coming up on the post-game show on Friday night.
Looking forward to it. Jer, there was one other big question circling around the chat. How was your Valentine's Day, buddy?
I'll tell you what, I'm still worn out. You know, Miss Riddle, she's a tiger. And you just can't underestimate 81 and 80-year-olds going at it now, I'm telling you.
Boy, when I have nightmares, this evening, I know who to blame it on. That's for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a pretty sight, I'll tell you.
I love everyone giving the input. Thank you very much, Dennis, and everyone else for your comments here on the chat line. We greatly appreciate that. Tomorrow, Ryno, you got your King's Court show, right?
I do not. I am off tomorrow. So
Okay.
I'm going to be tuning into your show at 4 o'clock, Napes.
I will be doing a show from about 4 to 4:30 or so, and then I'm getting ready for the hockey game, which I think is going to be another epic spectacle. The only problem is they're playing it in Boston. I don't know why the hell they're playing in that city. Get the damn game out of that city. Other than that, it is going to be a phenomenal hockey game with the United States and Canada. I cannot wait to see that game.
It's going to be good. Kevin Durant's even sending fans to hockey. He bid again in the media today.
Did he? What did he say? I didn't see what he said.
He basically said, if you want to go watch something, go watch hockey. I'm paraphrasing here. Somebody go look it up. Everybody go look it up. It was interesting.
Well, a lot of people are. Their ratings have been very good. Listen, I'm not sitting here saying that hockey's taken over basketball. That's idiotic and stupidity. And we understand the disparity in the league from a financial aspect, from a TV. We get all of that. But the United States-Finland game last Thursday, head-to-head, outdrew the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies on TNT. So it's not like nobody's paying attention. And the game on Saturday night in Canada between the USA and Canada was an epic game that the entire country was talking about. And I believe that the ratings for tomorrow's game might be the biggest that we've seen in a long time for hockey. So people are taking notice. And I think the league is taking notice, quite honestly. I think the league is looking at what the NHL has done during this All-Star break and with the format and saying, well, maybe we can't have 4 teams, but we can certainly have 2 teams, and we need to figure out how to do it. I believe that this will happen in the NBA. I really do.
Yeah, if they don't, they're just stupid because, they can definitely have 2 teams. They can have the format. It would work. It would bring back excitement, something to look forward to. It's a no-brainer, as they say.
Yep.
So KD pushed back. He said, for the betterment of your mental health and just overall well-being in response to canceling the All-Star game, he put, just don't watch the NBA. Hockey is right here or right there, and they play with that aggressiveness that you like. They also rarely get traded or go to new teams in free agency, so the loyalty aspect is there. Hope that helps.
Well, first of all, that is completely untrue about they rarely get traded. That's someone that doesn't follow the league and doesn't know anything about the league. Trades are very common in the National Hockey League, and big stars get traded frequently in the National Hockey League. So that's just somebody that doesn't follow the league and doesn't know anything about it. It's unfortunate for him to make that comment, but Kevin Durant is one of the most sensitive, thin-skinned superstars that we have in the United States. He gets bothered by the littlest of things. He attacks people on social media that only have 10 followers. The guy is thin-skinned and cannot handle any criticism, and that's one of his biggest drawbacks, in my opinion. Great talent, one of the best players of his generation. Nobody can really argue that, but boy, is he thin-skinned.
Yeah, he's hurt his legacy these last few years, and he's one of those guys that could have been, theoretically discussed as a top 10 kind of guy in the history of the game. And I don't think you'd put him anywhere near top 10 or 20 for that at this stage.
No.
Again,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. Again, it's Adam Silver's toddlers not knowing what they want. Just 3-4 years ago, it was, we want to be traded. We want shorter contracts, player movement, get me out. And now you got guys taking shots at the league because they can get traded all of a sudden. They don't want to be traded. Come on. What do you want?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what else is unbelievable. Ryno, I could use it right now.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That New York steak,
Oof,
bottom
medium
right-hand
rare.
corner of the screen, everything else at Bennett's. We love talking about Bennett's, whether it's the West Side Grill in Rockland, Bennett's, Roseville, Sacramento, whatever the case may be. You get the prime seafood and steak. You go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Really appreciate so many of you that have reached out and talked about visiting Bennett's. Brian has mentioned to us, Brian Bennett, the people that have come in and talked about the show. Thank you very much. They're awesome. Again, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com for prime seafood and steak. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Love it. Somebody just called the King's Court 2 days ago and said they went to have the ribeye at Howe and Fair Oaks. Amazing experience.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, we'll see if we'll love the Kings in the second half. I mean, it's right there. You're healthy. You got some new pieces, but a lot of the teams have new pieces. Figure it out and go get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, but they're going to have to come out of the gate and really playing a better brand of defense for sure, and better ball movement. So hopefully a couple of days of practice, and we know it really isn't enough, but that there again, the league really controls that. So with Coach Christie, if he can really get some good minutes out of a Markelle Fultz, will help them a little bit and figure out maybe if you could play Domas and Valanciunas together a little bit. And so there's a lot of things to work out, but the talent base is better today than it was. It just hasn't fit as well.
Yep.
What do you think about this game coming up? This will be the first time in a while that we've seen the Warriors without the Fox Curry matchup. And now you have a Jimmy Butler. We don't know about Kuminga, whether he's back or not. Draymond, this Warriors team now all of a sudden is interesting. You have teams that are even in the standings. This could be one of those games that can really propel you in one direction or another. And with the Kings being at home, that adds the importance to this game, Jerry.
Well, it really does. It's a game you have to win. I mean, obviously, the Warriors are probably your main competitors at this stage. I mean, that's who you have to be better than if you're going to have success this year. And obviously, Butler does change the dynamic, but at some point, that's the way it is. This is, they got Jimmy Butler, you got Zach LaVine, and, you just got to make it work. I think the biggest thing would concern me at this stage is, okay, how do you match up with Curry and Butler? The only guy that can bother Curry at all is Ellis. And then I don't know that Keegan could do a good job on Butler, but I mean, he may be in foul trouble. But so those that's the biggest issue to me is just what kind of matchups can you get there and control those two guys to a certain level. If you can control them a little bit, you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah, and you got to think the Warriors are going to want this one from this standpoint. The Kings blew them out big time. Embarrassed them, and then they should have lost that game here in Sacramento, and the Kings ended up winning when Golden State had the amazing contributions from half their G League team. So they're going to be ready to go. It almost feels like you're going to have to get something defensively from Markelle Fultz in this game.
Agreed. And that's one thing with Markelle. I mean, obviously his offensive weaknesses are, proven out there. I mean, but he's been a good defender, at least he was. Now, you don't know just what kind of condition he's in or how much he's ready to play, but he has proven to be a good, solid, stay in front of your guy defender, and certainly something the Kings really need. Now, you play him in place of Monk, you're certainly changing your offense dramatically.
Well, it gets underway on Friday. No show for Ryno, but I will have a 4:00 show tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And I guess that's about it, guys. I mean, it's always fun to come on and talk, but particularly after the All-Star break, because there's really no room for excuses anymore. You got 27 games. You're currently tied for the final spot in the play-in tournament. You're healthy. Let's go, man. Let's go.
Yep.
Right?
You need to be 17-10. I don't know how you get there.
I don't see how that's possible, Jerry. I just don't see how
I'm not
17
saying
is possible.
I see it. I'm hoping. Like I say, I can see 15, but I'm trying to.
Yep.
I want to see 17 because I think that's what you have to have.
Guys, I think you can cut it down to the first 7 games. You got to go 5-2 in these first 7. You don't go 5-2 in these 7, it's going to be a really tough sled.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Ryno. I think you hit it.
Well, that means you got to win on Friday. Isn't it interesting that Charlotte's playing the Lakers tonight in the makeup game? And guess who's back for Charlotte tonight? Do you see that? Mark Williams, their center, is playing tonight against the Lakers, a team that he should have been on, in his opinion. How about that? Interesting, isn't it?
That is interesting, Well, you'd like to know all the behind-the-scenes thing on that, wouldn't you? I mean,
Yes, you would.
I'd like to know exactly what the doctors that tested him in L.A. what they found they couldn't take a chance on. I mean, clearly he's missed a lot of games, so there's something.
Sure, no question.
And LeBron, last time I checked, is questionable. Almost feels like he's got to take another night off for missing that All-Star game.
Here's one thing I'll just point out here. I know you, but what scares me with the Lakers, if and I'm afraid they're going to figure this out. If they play LeBron 20-25 minutes at center, they're going to be really good.
Oof.
And he could do it. How many centers can guard him? How many centers could he guard? None.
Great point.
I mean, I don't know if it kind of goes to would he be willing to do it? Because if he is, with Luka and Reeves and Rui Hachimura and Dorian Finney-Smith and him, that's a scary team.
It is. It is absolutely a scary team. Guys, we appreciate it. Ryno, I will catch up with you on Friday, my friend. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. And Jerry, thank you very much.
Enjoyed it as always, guys. See what happens.
And everyone else, I'll be with you right here tomorrow at 4:00, getting you ready for, if you want to talk, we can talk some hockey. We can talk NBA. We can talk NFL. We can talk about whatever you want. Until then, thank you, everyone. We greatly appreciate your support. We'll talk to you soon right here on If You Don't Like That. Bye-bye.